Hi guys, welcome. It's a sit and talk with me and the Gooseman.
What's up?
About the new GT Nephilim tournament pack.
Yes.
Very quickly, we've had literally about an hour and a half to read through it. Me and Jamie are doing this for the channel because we're the ones that are doing a lot of the tournaments. Because Dave and Ross they're Tempest War, which we do love, but we're the ones that do a lot more tournaments than what they do, so we've got a bit more of an insight. And it's been a smoothly done there, Jamie.
Yes.
Smoothly done, professional.
Very professional.
Very professional. We've had a quick look through, and yeah, it's gonna hit everybody very hard on this.
Yes.
We're going to break this down into smaller chunks on this because there's a lot of information in this book. I mean, it's a chunky boy book. It's Fat Boy Swim.
Yeah, about a third of the book alone is secondaries.
And then a third of they've actually done. We'll go into it a little bit further, but actually the main rules as well is in the book, which is quite handy on there. But it's a chunky boy. But we'll go into that in sections. So we're going to split it down into reasonable sized chunks. So main rules for tournament play. Again, stratagems, which is a massive chunk. We will do a little bit of a deep dive on there, but not to lose you. A little bit on the missions, etc. And a little bit at the end about the book itself.
Yeah.
But with that, we'll dive straight into the main rules for GT. So guys, starting off the Grand Tournament rules. Normal rules really apply for incursion strike force. So 2 to 3 hours for the games, 1,000, 1,500, 2,000 points. It's all standard.
Yeah.
Not going to change.
Yeah.
But, and it's a large but, big buts, never lie. The CP that you're going to start with is massively changed.
Yes.
All the rumours are true, I'm afraid to say. You're going to start off on a standard strike force game, so a standard 2,000 point game, 1,500 to 2,000 points, with 6 CP. Just take that in, deep breath. 6 CP. That's for everything. So, looking at the rules itself, it says you have to relate to or correlate to the Warhammer rulebook for as it is for mustering your army, which includes detachments.
Yes.
So, excuse me, that's the stomach.
It's almost dinner time here, guys.
Yeah. So, Vanguard, Outrider, the secondary detachments like that, they are going to cost you out of that 6 CP.
Yes.
And there's a bigger but. Jeremy?
Yes. So not only do you only start with 6 CP, and out of that 6 CP you're spending command points on your additional detachments, you're now also paying for your warlord trait and your relic thanks to 2 new stratagems they've introduced for this season, as they're calling it for Warhammer 40k. I'm still not a fan of these seasons.
No.
But you now have, no longer get a free warlord trait or free relic just for having a game. It no longer exists. You now pay 1 CP for a warlord trait and 1 CP for a relic. So it's going to mess things up massively for a lot of different armies. Those that rely quite heavily on spamming warlord traits and relics. I'm seeing Space Marines suffering. I'm seeing armies like Guard who quite like to have extra warlord traits and relics.
Gene Cult as well. Nids, Harlequins, etc. for this the additional warlord traits and relics. So like I say, guys, for me, as I'm running Gene Cult quite a lot on tournament play at the moment, trying to get good with them, scrub, is you start with 6. I normally take 1 detachment as it is, which is free, thank God. But then the warlord trait on the Patriarch and the relic, that's 2 CP, brings you down to 4. Additional command point for 2 warlord traits on 2 other characters, that brings you down to 3. Then 2 additional relics, that brings you down to 1 CP to start the game off.
Yeah.
Start off normally on 8 or 9, down to 1 at the start of the game. Strategic reserve, putting stuff into strategic reserve. That's going to be next to non-existent.
I can almost guarantee it.
Putting things in deep strike, if they've got rules for deep strike themselves, they will be put in deep strike to be used. If you want to put things in deep strike that you have to pay CP for, Webway for Eldari as well, where you have to put things in, spend CP to put them in there.
Yeah.
It's a massive, massive change.
And obviously, we're getting this from the way we're interpreting the rules that are in front of us. From what we can read is that this is how it's being
So,
said.
reading this word for word. Okay. Details of how to Battleforge an army, use a points limit, select a warlord, and what information a player's army roster must contain can be found in the Warhammer 40,000 core rulebook. Players can only give models in their army relics or warlord traits if they have used a requisition stratagem to acquire them. Both players have access to these 2 stratagems below.
Ouch.
So you create your army under your 6 CP. You then designate what's a warlord.
It has to be a character, and also to get a warlord trait and a relic as well.
Yep.
But it's the same as it always has been.
But your warlord may not have a warlord trait, may not have a relic, and then you use your own stratagems within your own codex for anything extra.
Yes. So will I be running my captain with 2 warlord traits now in my salamanders?
Possibly not.
Possibly not.
May try it out to see how it actually feels.
Yeah.
But other than that, it's a massive, massive. Is it a nerf? More likely, but we were talking about this. Is you're going to see armies that aren't going to be first turn spam, first turn alpha strike.
Yes.
With I'm going to use 1,000,001 stratagems, 1,000,001 command points. And obliterate you. I'm going to spend 8 command points, like I used to do on AdMech in 8th. Yeah, scary face. I used to use 7 or 8 command points like that without even blinking about it. The other armies I've got now in 9th, not as much, but I can go OTT on command points. Yourself, for instance, you could use 7 or 8 on
Just defensive stratagems.
Yeah. Command point rerolls, for instance.
We were playing a practice game for the tournament we're going to tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I was trying out a Space Marine list. Turn 1 of Rob's turn 1, I used 7 CP on defensive stratagems. Transhuman physiology, adding armor saves to my guys.
Command point rerolls.
No, it's going to be non-existent.
That is just going to be zip 0.
Yeah.
We know other people on YouTube says command point rerolls are for. Don't believe in them.
You're not going to use them anymore.
You cannot. That's the whole point.
While we've been speaking, though, I have kind of thought of a different kind of spin on this. A lot of people say they don't like the whole stratagem-esque way that 40k has moved in both 8th and 9th edition.
The mechanic of it
does this now make people more likely to tool out their armies before the start of the game, so they're not relying on stratagems throughout the game?
But
does it make their lists more fluffy and more well-rounded? Discuss it in the comments. Tell us what you think. But
possible, but there's certain stratagems to make your army fluffy during the game itself.
Yeah, very true.
So there's like grenade ones for Gene Stealer Cult, whereby you use a command point, you get 6 grenades instead of rolling for them, or using grenades in combat.
Yeah,
yeah, fun and games. Putting additional strength on your weapons. Or additional damage, or additional strength on your weapons. All that sort of thing, you've got to really now think, possibly even have to go back to 6th or 7th edition, where you don't have any stratagems whatsoever, you rely heavily on what the army can do. And that's it.
Yeah, you're relying really heavily on your dice rolling rather than, I'm going to make everything hit on 2s and wound on 2s. There's stratagem.
There's that, but it's also knowing what your army can do. Yeah. Without those. So there is that spin of it, is you now don't rely on your stratagems. You rely on your gameplay and how you use your own army itself. Now, from this, what I can see, there may be a new meta come out of certain armies that don't need anything on stratagems. I can't think of any at the moment. Possibly Marines, if they're set up right. Eldari, possibly. Harlequins, maybe. We don't know what the new CSM are going to be like. Not yet.
Not yet.
But at the same time, it's very much looking at how your army works and interacts between the battlefield and the missions, which we'll go to shortly, and see how your army reacts to it. You can't really rely on stratagems anymore. If you go into a GT and they're using this book for this season, it's going to shift it big time.
Yes, I can almost 100% think it's going to shake up everything when it comes to a competitive tournament, or even when you're playing with your friends and you're using this tournament mission pack. And I think these rules will also apply when you're using your Tempest of War mission packs as well. I think these rules will override the same mechanics that they're using, but we're not sure as it stands. I would assume it would.
Yeah, well, this is Grand Tournament, so this is the mission pack for Grand Tournament, not Tempest of War.
Yeah.
So you may go to the standard ruling of as before. You may have to select it as in you start with 12 CP. They've not FAQ'd it or not actually stated anything as yet, which we may see.
But we are filming this before anything has come out about it.
Literally, I was given this by Dave and go and do a review of it.
It was still in this plastic wrap when we got it.
So it's sort of like looking, going, oh God, oh my Jesus, Mary and Joseph. But again, what I can clearly see is on Tempest of War or Match Play, potentially, is going to be using the normal 12 CP, but full-blown GTs that use the Nephilim, and they're all specified, the Nephilim Grand Tournament book is going to be very, very restrictive.
Yes, definitely.
Moving on from that, I know it's a big topic, and there's going to be a lot of people complaining about it.
Unhappy with it.
Very unhappy with it.
But let's give it a chance and see how it goes. Let's not all jump on the... Let's not flay Games Workshop because they made a change to their game, I suppose.
Yeah, but at the same time is people going to go, how are we going to play? Or if you're going to use this rule book, you're going to have to adapt and overcome. Use the Necron way of doing things, adapt and overcome. Or assimilate, either or.
Filthy Xenos.
Yes. So, going on to the missions. Strike Force missions, a lot of them are identical. We'll go into that in a bit deeper. So again, there's 9 missions under Strike Force. There's 9 missions under Incursion. You normally random, so 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 3, the usual 2d3. Read missions, there's a lot of detail now in these missions you really need to get your head around before you actually start the game.
Yes.
Place some objective markers. Again, they may be slightly different in spacings now compared to the other ones by a couple of inches here and there. I think they're trying to move so you can't really jump on turn 1 or jump on your opponent's turn 1 or anything like that, because we're saying back there's a couple of missions whereby your opponent can use incursions or infiltrators or anything like that. You've got to start 9 inches away from the opponent's deployment zone. You will not be on the opponent's territory objective marker because how far it actually is away.
Yes.
Because it'll be like 4 inches away from your deployment zone, and working out inches wise, you are not going to be within the 3 inches of that objective marker. Which is all good, to be brutally honest.
Yes.
Very, very quickly, just going back ever so slightly, the rule of 3 is still there. So Incursion is rule of 2, Strike Force is rule of 3. except for dedicated transport and troops as normal. But the rule 3 is still there, which is good. You don't want to see those 17 hive tyrants running around.
Or 9 Tau commanders.
Shut up now. Get out. So that element's still the same. The board size is still the same, so it's 44x60 or 44x30. Everybody's getting used to it now. It does work, to be a bit honest. Knocking off a foot in one direction, 4 inches off the other. It makes the games more intense, and you get in your face of your opponent quicker.
Yep, definitely gives a benefit to combat armies, like was discussed with this originally.
And shooting as well. You've got to keep an eye on your surroundings. Terrain setup is going to be a lot easier. You don't need as much, to be fair.
I still think you need quite a healthy amount of terrain, but
you do need enough.
Yeah, enough. I think that's the key word.
Enough. But you don't want it swamped, so you can't actually move.
Yes, of course.
But other than that, it's the same rules apply. So with that, we're going to take a quick break and go back to one of the second biggest chunk on this is stratagems.
Secondaries.
That one as well. Right guys, so we're going to go through the fun-filled secondary objective. Fun
Yes, not
shenanigans.
stratagems.
Yes, not stratagems. Long day, tired, but we're good. So, Jamie, start us off, kid.
Well, you'll find that now, when you begin a game of 40k, instead of immediately just picking three secondary objectives, there are now a standard 3 that you always get.
Do tell us those 3.
They are, of course, Assassinate,
For number 1.
Grind them down,
For number 2.
and Behind Enemy Lines.
For the 3rd.
Yes, and they're pretty similar to as they were in the last one. However, it has now been changed that you can swap any of these 3 out for any combination of secondaries. You've got me doing it now.
Hey!
That you want, as long as they come from different key parts of the collection of them. No mercy, no respite, and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
So let's have a wee look at these changes. Now, Assassinate, as it was, 3 victory points for each character that you kill, and an extra one for killing the Warlord.
Standard as
Pretty
per
standard.
Nachmund.
Bring It Down is an interesting one, though,
Ooh.
because they've
Do
rolled
tell.
2 stratagems into 1. So you still get 1 victory point for killing a vehicle or monster that has 9 or less wounds.
Go.
You still get 2 for killing one that is between 10 and 14. You still get 3 for killing one that's between 15 and 19. But now you get 4 for killing 20 or more.
So that's including Titan Hunter.
That's
now.
including Titan Hunter now.
So Titan Hunter does not exist.
Yes, does not exist.
Excellent.
Yes.
So that's pretty good. So that is basically choosing two standard secondaries
Yes,
out of 1 pot
yes. Grind them down is exactly the same.
for no mercy, no respite.
Yep, and as is no prisoners.
So no prisoners as it is. So it's number of wounds you cause without characters, vehicles, or monsters, or anything like that, and then divided by 10 to give you your victory points. And if you score over 50, you score an additional 1. If you score over 100, it's an additional 2.
Yes.
Standard.
Warpcraft next.
Ooh.
Now, a Boiler Witch you cannot do if you have a Psyker in your list. So lists like Grey Knights and Thousand Suns and the Space Marine list that has a cheeky Librarian, or the Guard list that has a cheeky Astropath or Psyker.
Eldari that has Farseers, a Go-Go.
Can't do them. Can't do it. Just can't. You're not allowed.
You're
just not allowed.
Just not.
But I think the most interesting in the Warcraft section is Psychic Interrogation.
Okay.
So it's still very similar to what it was before. So you're
24-inch.
24-inch range, warp charge 4, 3 victory points. Yeah, that's all good. But now, if you beat the character's leadership, you get a CP. That'll help you with your CP draw.
Yep, so this helps on the mechanics from having low CP to start off the game, bring CP into the game itself for you, if you can do it, that is. yeah, it's going to be an interesting one. But you got to have your psychers to be able to do it.
Yeah. Battlefield Supremacy. You've got your behind enemy lines, which is very similar to what it was before.
I think
it's not exactly the same.
Yep.
And as is engage on all fronts.
So
with the caveat that it has to be an infantry unit with 3 or more models, or a vehicle or monster unit that has 1 or more models.
Straightforward.
Yes.
So it's basically 2. I think on the warp side, on the psychic side, there's 3 that you can choose from, but the rest of them there's 2.
Yes.
2 secondaries that are standard that anybody can take.
Yeah.
Within reason.
The last ones for shadow operations, you've got your raise the banners high.
Exactly the same.
Exactly the same. And you've got retrieve Nephilim data.
Yeah. More R&D there, guys.
Yes.
Not Nachmund. We're going Nephilim. Nephilim.
Which is exactly the same as
Nachmund.
Nachmund. No changes. But you will notice a few glaring omissions from that list of secondaries you can take.
Yeah. Stranglehold.
Deploy teleport homers.
Yeah.
To the last.
Yeah. It's your
one of my favourites.
Yeah.
They're gone. You cannot. They do not exist in this GT mission pack. You can no longer do them.
Do not pass go. Do not collect 200 Imperial credits. Does not exist.
You don't do it. You can't have it. You don't get it.
Big change because I said a lot of Marine players are doing Oath Moment and Stranglehold.
Yes.
Or other Marine chaps were using Stranglehold as a key element. I was using Stranglehold quite a lot and I was starting to get used to it. Now I can't use it anymore if I'm using this book. Joys!
Yes. Speaking of Oath of Moment, you've completely gone ahead into the next bit we're going to be talking about. We're going to be moving on to some of the faction-specific parts, talking about the Adeptus Astartes and the forces of the Imperium.
Let's have a look.
So,
do tell.
Do tell. I will tell. So, these have been copied and pasted out of the Salamander.
It's not Salamander book just yet.
The Adeptus Astartes Codex, and you'll notice that throughout this book. It's pretty much copied and pasted from the pre-game, the secondaries that you have in your codexes. But there are small caveats within each of them with slight tweaks.
Minor tweaks.
And on that, Oath of Moment has been tweaked.
For the better.
For the better, yeah, I guess.
Yeah, for the better. Come on.
So, it's still a No Mercy, No Respite. You still have your Oath of Valor, Oath of Honor, and Oath of Duty.
Yep, so 1 CP for each.
Yep.
So that's take the centre, don't fail morale.
Yes, but you see, it is the Oath of Duty, one capturing the centre of the board, that has changed.
Okay.
Instead of scoring 2 CP, 2 victory points for holding the centre of the board with any Adeptus Astartes unit, it is now 1 victory point and can only be scored by Adeptus Astartes core or Adeptus Astartes character units.
Yeah, so your blade guy can't do it anymore.
Yes, my 12 blade guard can't sit in the centre of the board and go, yeah, you're not moving me.
Yeah, just no. Just get out. Yeah.
It's not happening.
No.
It's just not going to happen.
So that's a big change for Marine players of all creeds and colours.
Yeah, everyone's going to feel that one. I think that was pretty staple in every Marine list. The guys I've played down in Dominion, shout out. The one Space Wolf player, he always runs Oath of Moment and always runs Stranglehold, so he's not going to be able to do that combination. Crimson Fist player I played a couple of months ago, he did the same thing. It's all being changed up, guys.
Yeah.
It's a different world out there.
And now all chapters have got at least one dedicated secondary.
Yes.
Related. So I think Space Wolves, Blood Angels, Dark Angels, they've got their 3 from their codexes.
Yes.
So it's the other
Supplemented ones.
So yeah.
Yeah. So you got one for your Imperial Fists, your Iron Hands, your Raven Guard, and most importantly, your Salamanders.
Yeah.
Now, do you want to hear the Salamanders one?
Not really, but you're going to say
I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell you guys anyway.
Yeah.
So, as everything, it's on fire. So is the Promethean Creed. Yes. So, in your first command phase, select one objective marker that is not in your deployment zone. Not in your deployment zone.
Okay.
At the end of your command phase, if you control that objective with a Salamander's core infantry unit from your army, you score 2 victory points.
Ooh. Okay.
Furthermore, Each time an enemy unit is selected to shoot or fight, and it selects that Salamander's infantry unit that is on an objective, or on the selected objective, so it can be any Salamander's infantry unit that's on that objective. Each time you fail to kill that unit, I gain a victory point to a maximum of 3. So you're trying to shoot off a big 10-man blob of heavy intercessors to just plop down on that objective. Good luck. It's just going to stay there. It's not going to move.
3 damage weapons.
Yeah, but it's fine. Don't worry. Apothecary's going to be close by, don't worry.
As always.
But probably not with Selfless Healer.
Yeah.
At the end of each player turn, if one or more enemy units were destroyed by an attack made by a Salamander's infantry unit from your army, while that Salamander's infantry unit was in range of that objective, I score 1 victory point for each unit killed. But if that unit was killed with a flame or a melter weapon, I get 2 victory points.
Melters.
Because you know what they say, 2 is better than 1.
3 melters, 1 knight. Work that out.
Yeah. Ha ha ha.
Scum.
And there's, as usual, there's the Adeptus Sororitas in here. You've got your Adeptus Custodes.
Alan.
Yes, the Adeptus Mechanicus, Astra Militarum, which have 4 unique stratagems in here.
Yep, because I said the dex hasn't been released yet. It keeps on showing bits and pieces for Ursula Creed, etc.
Yes.
These secondaries are quite good.
Yes, I believe you wanted to read some of them, so I'll pass you the Tome of Knowledge, mainly because I don't want to read them. I wonder why.
So, straight off, purge the enemy, body lasgun and bayonet. So, score 1 victory point. Yeah, stab, pew, body me grew.
Yeah.
Cuspid dibble grub, but you're too young for that. Score 1 victory point each time an enemy unit that starts the turn within range of an objective marker is destroyed by a guard unit.
Very straightforward.
Shadow operations, special orders. Expunge intel action on an objective. 1 guard infantry unit from your army can start performing this action at the end of your movement phase if it's within 12 inches of a friendly officer. And within range of an objective marker you control that is not within your deployment zone, so no man's land or the enemies. The action is completed at the end of your turn. If completed, that objective marker is said to be expunged by your army. Roll a d6. On a 6, you get a command point back. So you could potentially get 5 or even 6, 4 or 5 command points because you can't use it on your own.
No. I mean, if you're rolling 6s to that, I'm sure you want your 6s elsewhere.
You do, or 6s to ruins a knight, yeah. Salt. So basically, if you do 1 objective marker, 2 victory points, 2 is 5, 3 is 10, 4 or more is 15. So you're going to keep your army quite
bunched up.
Quite tight together.
Tight
Like a toy.
nups.
Leave your libs out of this. Anyway.
I said nups.
Nups, that as well.
Brooklyn Nine-Nine reference.
Book 99.
9-9.
Battlefield Supremacy. We've got boots on the ground. So secure 1 victory point for each table quarter that has 1 or more regiment infantry units from your army wholly within it, excluding character models that are and units within 6 inches of the centre of the board. So it's against all fronts, but an additional one. Score 1 victory point if 1 or more units from your army equipped with regimental standards are either wholly within 6 inches of the centre of the board or wholly within your opponent's deployment zone. So that will give you 5 victory points per turn if you max it out per turn. Which isn't too bad. It's a lot of move. It's a lot of positioning, so on and so forth. If you've got plenty of guard troops on there, and it's got to be infantry regimental as well.
And shout out to our friend Colin who runs like 120 guardsmen.
Yeah, and it's done with one of those push rods and sort of thing, sort of from World War II. So going to Sector 2, so push it through, so on and so forth. What? And lastly, no mercy, no respite. Inflexible command. Score 2 victory points if every guard unit within your army is within 6 inches of a friendly officer. Again, it's bringing everything tight together. Score 1 victory point if every guard vehicle unit from your army is within 12 inches of a vehicle officer. Score 1 victory point if an enemy unit was destroyed by a guard unit from your army this turn while the guard unit is being affected by an order or a tank order. So, first rank fire, second rank fire, and you wipe out a squad. Brilliant, 1 VP. But there's a little bit of caveat at the bottom. For the purpose of this secondary, while an officer unit from your army is embarked on a transport, that transport model is also considered to have the officer keyword. In addition, for the purposes of the secondary objective, while an infantry unit from your army equipped with a Voxcaster is within 24 inches of a friendly officer unit, it counts as being within 6 inches instead of if the officer unit itself within 1 inch of a friendly command squad or Tempest command squad unit that is also equipped with a Vox. So you can use it with distances for 24 inches away, like if you've got a Voxcaster.
Cool.
So they're not easy, but they are quite decent secondaries. To be fair, I think they're some of the
quite fluffy.
They're very, very fluffy. There's a giant fluff ball.
Yes.
But I can see them, quite a lot of those being used by guard players. Not any of the standard, quite a lot of these.
Yeah.
Because they're not impossible. Mm-hmm. They're not majorly difficult. Mm-hmm. They are difficult still, but they're not next to impossible. You're not going to sit there and go, I ain't got no chance in hell doing that. They are relatively good. One last one on the Imperium side that I wanted to touch on was a lot of people from the tournament scene's favourite one when they come up against Grey Knights. Purifying Ritual that everybody loves to hate. Instant 15 points for that for the Grey Knight player. Love them, really. And problem is Dave's a Grey Knight player as well. So he has to.
Yet he despises Ultramarines.
Most people do. Anyway, Purifying Ritual. So it's double Grey Knight Psyker. So warp charge 5. One or more Grey Knight Psyker units from your army can attempt this as normal. Each unit from your army that starts to perform the psychic action must be within range of a different objective marker you control that has not been purified by your army this turn. If the psychic action is complete, the objective marker is said to be purified by your army that turn. At the end of the turn, you score a number of victory points for the number of objective markers you've purified, as normal. 1 is 1 point, 2 is 2 points, 3 is 4 points, and 4 or more is 5 points. This is a key one for me because, like on a 5 objective mission, a lot of people are still going to go for 3 objectives.
Yes.
And they've got to hold that objective itself. Mm. They can't just go, yeah, no, purify flame that. So a lot of people are going to be camping out, especially on a 5 objective game. A load of models, quite a few on objective secure, in the centre to really stop Grey Knights going, I'm going to go my one, that one, and one in the middle, and constantly getting 4 victory points per turn. They can potentially do 2 quite easily, but 3 or 4 is going to push it. And if you're going against 1,000 Suns, it's going to be tit for tat on denying, so on and so forth. So I think it's going to be a bit of a change, but I don't see many armies going full 15. 12 possibly.
Yeah. 10 to 12
very much likely, but full 15, I don't think it will, to be honest. It's going to be difficult for them. I could be proven completely and utterly different and wrong, but in my eyes, I see that being one that they will take, but I don't think it's going to be maxed out points very easily. So that is going through the Imperium sides and the standard. I'm going to be really cheeky and throw the Chaos side over to this man who is non-chaosified. I will back in a couple of seconds. So good.
It is me.
It
with
is
the
I.
forces of chaos.
Yeah, which you are not chaosified.
No, I'm not chaosified. Not
No.
yet. Not until World Eaters come out.
You haven't been touched just yet. Ugh.
I don't know how to respond. So guys, this is a good insight onto what we can expect to see from the secondaries that are going to be in the new Chaos Space Marine Codex.
Which-
Obviously you wouldn't be using them anyway because they're now in here.
Yeah.
Um,
But that's it. Can't wait to see the book itself.
Yes.
Watch out for a review from the Dave and the Ross, which are the two Chaos players, quite soon, because they've been looking through it and going, ooh, we shall see what happens.
yes.
But I think we're slightly on the Chaos side, and slightly tainted. World Eaters will just be.
Well, I don't think I'll be able to hold myself back.
I don't think.
Well, that is for another day.
Yes.
That is for another day. For now, we shall talk
Standard.
about the secondaries.
Secondaries. Yes, sir. 3 bags full, sir.
We'll start with the No Mercy, No Respite from the Traitor Astartes area. It is called the Long War.
Sounds good.
It is also very similar to one of the Space Marine specific ones about taking objectives and killing units. So you get 1 victory point for each enemy unit that was destroyed by Traitors Astartes unit from your army that was in range of an objective marker.
Cool.
You then score 2 victory points if you control an objective marker that was controlled by your opponent at the start of the turn.
Cool.
Very straightforward, very easy, very simple. Another really good thing about this is not only do all the Space Marine chapters have their own specific secondaries, but now all the Traitor Legions have their own as well.
Only
Now-
one, though.
Only one, and we've kind of spoiled what one I want to talk about by talking about
I think
mine.
everybody wants to talk about it, to be honest.
Honestly, guys, it is so cool, I cannot not talk about it. It is, of course, the World Eaters. Obviously, you've got your Word Bearers, your Red Corsairs have their own.
Death Guard and Thousand Suns are in here with their 3 or 4.
Yeah.
They copy and paste as it is.
But the World Eaters.
But the World Eaters. It should be called.
But the World Eaters.
There's no other words for it. It's the rule of cool of Khan.
Yes. Their secondary is called Skulls for the Skull Throne. Do you want to say it in a more death metal way? No? There we go.
Yeah.
Okay. This is done if you select this objective during the Resolve pre-battle ability step of the mission. Select 1 World Eaters character, Khan the Betrayer, model from your army to issue a challenge.
If it's not Khan Betrayer, if you pick this, you need to be sacked and killed by Khan himself. This is Khan the Betrayer's secondary.
You then select 1 enemy character.
Grimoldus, because he's a brick hard character.
You then score 5 victory points for any of the following conditions that are met.
Okay.
First condition, the model that was issued the challenge is killed. Is
Standard.
destroyed. So you kill that enemy character.
5 points.
Then, the model that accepted the challenge was destroyed as a result of a melee attack.
World Eaters, melee.
If you're shooting your bolt pistols, you're doing something wrong.
Soften them up.
If you're not taking chainswords instead of bolt pistols, you're doing something wrong.
Or both.
Oh no, because you take your chain axe and you take your chainsword. Yeah.
Very, very weak and
But there's a third step to this.
Oh, fair.
So, the model that accepted the challenge was destroyed by the model that issued the challenge.
Basically, can't kill stuff.
Yeah, Khan kills the character that accepted the challenge.
15 points, thank you very much.
But there's a very funny caveat at the bottom of this one that I think is excellent. And the chance of it actually coming up is probably slim to none.
Yeah.
But the fact they've had to go out of their way and say this is just something incredible. So, if the model that accepted the challenge is in a strategic reserve or reinforcement unit and is destroyed as a result of not arriving onto the battlefield, all the conditions are considered to have been met.
So basically, someone forgets to go, oh, right, Traitor Valoris. Oh, I forgot to put him on the board. 15 points, please.
Yeah, you know that Tal
Indeed.
Commander that you've forgotten about?
15 points, please.
He's dead. Brilliant. I love it.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
But again, if you don't use this with Khan the Betrayer in your list, you need to be sacked. It's just it's his secondary.
Yes.
Simples.
So again, the Chaos Knight stuff is pretty much copy and paste from their codex. I'm not going to read through that because it's a lot of it.
It's there.
It's there. You guys know it. If you've watched any battle reports with Chaos Knights in it, you know what they're talking about.
Don't go on about that battle report, please.
Just heavy military rifles, mate. They're just too good. Right.
If you haven't seen it, go and watch it. There is hilarity on there, but salt.
Yes. But Chaos Demons do have their own stratagems. And I'm going to read you one right now.
Go on.
So, at the end of your turn, you score 1 victory point for each table quarter. 1 or more Chaos Demon units are in, excluding Heretic Astartes, so no Chaos Space Marines allowed. That are wholly within it, providing your opponent does not have more units wholly within that same table quarter as you.
So you have to basically outnumber as well as engage on all fronts.
Yes, and are 6 inches away from the center of the board.
Yeah. So again, it's engage on all fronts, outnumber the enemy.
Yeah.
Simple as.
A second caveat is you score 1 victory point for each Chaos Demon unit, excluding Heretic Astartes, that are wholly within 6 inches of the center of the board.
So again, it's like 1 or 2 of the others.
It's like Oath of the Moment.
Yeah, it is, but demonified.
Yes.
Which, yeah, it's pretty good. I mean, you can be deep striking a load of demons in left, right, and centre.
Yeah.
And go choppy with bloodletters, or just sit there with plague bearers going, shift me.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty easy 2 points a turn, I would say at least.
2 to 3 points a turn. It's a good 10 to 12 point per game. Depends on how you build your demons list. Depends on what happens with the demons. But yeah, it's quite a solid secondary, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm quite happy with a lot of the chaosy ones.
They're very fluffy.
I'm very interested to see on how the codexes go, because just Chaos doesn't have any codexes out at the moment.
No.
Which is, I know it has the Thousand Suns and the Death Guard, but I want to see what happens with demons, and I really want to see what happens with Chaos Space Marines. Although I don't play them, I'm still interested to see what happens.
World Eaters.
Yeah, and World Eaters.
World Eaters.
And
Angry Ron coming out to play.
we'll get Angry Ron.
Yeah.
Maybe. I can't imagine they wouldn't.
Oh.
But the next part is your part, the part that you like to talk about. It is those people that are not made out of humans or flesh and bone, other than alien flesh and bone. It is the Xenos. We'll be right back. Switch.
Smooth.
When we started, it was light out.
Boo. Pitch. Right. Still got some.
Yep, we're both still talking.
So going on to an area what I normally run, and I don't know why I run so much as Xenos as it is, but I do. So Eldar, Drakari, few minor tweaks on theirs. I'm not really going to go into those because I don't really play them. Harleys, again, virtually identical to what I had previously. Tyranids, which is one of Dave's favourites. Again, virtually identical because I said Nid book's only just been released.
Yes.
Itself. Very hard book. But the two that I normally run, Gene Cult and Necrons, little changes on there.
Why are you stroking the book?
Excellent. We will go through these quite quickly. So, two that are changed. So Necrons, Code of Combat is law that kills a unit, simple as, in shooting, 3 points. If he kills in melee, a unit, 4 points.
And that's a new part.
That's the new part. And if I kill a character, I get CP back. Silent Bob, 2 command barges, thank you very much. It's quite nice, and it's quite a stable one for Necrons itself. We have Gene Cults. Now, Brood Swarm is one that people have a look at. They try it, I've tried it, it scores points, but not as many as what it can. It now gives you some good point value.
Yes.
So it's more models in your deployment zone, 1 point.
Easy.
More models in no man's land, 1 point.
Relatively easy.
More models in the enemy's deployment zone. More models on the table, full stop, 1 point. And if you get all 4 of those, you score an additional point. So there's 5 points there per turn that you can get. You're more likely going to get 3, I'd say, 4 at a push. Well, you're not going to get 4. It's either going to be 3
or 5.
Or 5, really. I think that's going to be quite standard for me. I'm going to give it a good run for its money. It's better than what we had previously, because it was like either my deployment, your deployment, or no man's land. And if you can do all 3, you get an additional point. Now this is more models on the board, and it's going. You are going to see a swarm army, simple as, which I quite like, because I'm not a swarm player. Tau, as Jamie said, about aerospace targeting relays.
Yes, it's one of my favourites.
So again, Firewires can actually do it at the end of the turn. Anything else, it's your next command phase.
Yes, other than that, it's virtually identical.
Yeah, so it goes 2, 6, 9 and 15. Straightforward enough. Good points. Hide your warriors in your devilfish. Death by devilfish. Jump out, go, that's mine. End of turn, jump back in, round you go again. So yeah, it's... I know we've briefly gone over a load of them, but at the same time as we give you some really good details on ones that we play with, you'll need to go through a lot of the book itself, because there are significant changes on there, minor ones. Again, there's a lot that we used to play that are no longer viable. They're not there whatsoever.
There's also really another interesting change, and that's that you're no longer limited to one faction specific secondary per game.
No.
So now if you want to take, for me, for example, all 3 tile-specific ones,
You can.
I can.
And
I think that's mainly as a result of them chopping so many of the secondaries out of the generic ones.
yeah,
The no to the last. There's no
Stranglehold.
There's no deploy teleport homers. So those kind of ones that people would have gravitated to are now going to have to be replaced by ones that they would take from their faction.
Yeah, as well is on the Marine side, you can take one from your basic Astartes, as well as your one from your chapter. So those ones can actually interlink together.
Yes.
As long as they're different
Categories.
Subcategories. But you can take them all from your specific faction itself. So Marines, then you've got your own chapter ones. Because like I say, you've got White Scars, they've got one, so they can take that one. And 2 are either the standard for everybody, or within Adeptus Astartes, which is quite good, to be completely fair. With that, there's quite a lot of information on the stratagems, which more in detail, but secondaries. Get there. But what we'll do, we'll come back to you very, very shortly, but we're going to go over briefly on the new missions, or are they?
Are they new?
Right guys, going on to the last section now on the missions. So the missions really haven't changed.
Nah, they're pretty much exactly the same.
I think some of the positions of the markers have changed ever so slightly, so like 5 or 8 inches or something like that. But the mission breakdowns are absolutely identical. There's no change on them whatsoever. The only real change is in relation to your CP gain. And that element is per turn, each player gets a command point.
Yes.
So per battle round, you'll get 2. So by the end of the game, there'll be 10 command points that you'll get.
Yes, essentially.
Essentially. There are ways and means of getting more, as we've gone through on the secondaries.
Yes.
Which always helps. So you could end up with like 16 command points, but technically you're going to use a lot before the game starts, so we'll reduce your command points down. Then you've got your refarming as well, if you've got 5-up regen on command points.
Or if you're going ethereal, you've got a 3-up regen. Or, yeah, no, 3. No, a 2-up if you've got the humble staves.
If you can spend the command point on the relic
Well,
for it.
I think the humble staves will pay for themselves now that I think about it.
Yeah. So that element is quite significant, and that ruling Battleforge CP bonus is on every single mission. The one that I wanted to pick on is Recover the Relics, because this one is in the mission, the player only receives the CP bonus at the start of the command phase if they control either one or more objectives in their opponent's territory, or they control one or more objectives in no man's land. In addition, if at the start of the command phase a player controls the objective marker in their opponent's deployment zone, that player receives 1 additional command point. So you could be getting 4 a turn, for instance.
Yes.
So you could be ending at 20 command points if you do it for turn 1.
I mean, I'll be impressed if you can do it from turn 1, but
Challenge accepted! No.
I don't think you need that challenge.
15 acolytes. But yeah, so this one is quite heavy on CP regen, but also CP takeaway.
Yes.
It's like I said, the basic rules on these missions haven't changed. Bit of a shame, because a lot of the time is you're going to be playing the same missions time and time again.
Yes.
Unless you're playing Tempest of War, which is really good. But the CP element to this is going to change how you play the game a lot.
Yes. I think that's the main takeaway from this book, is
The whole book itself is how you have your CP at the start of the game and how you manage that resource. I think you've still got your same 9 missions, same ruling, same setup, but it's the biggest element of the whole book, as we said, is your CP manage. It's going to be difficult. You're not going to see these Alpha Strike lists. If you do, then they're doing something that we need to know about, but at the same time, I can't see it happening. We may find it in a tournament in a couple of weeks' time.
Yes.
But, I mean, until we start playing on with the rules and how the CPs work, we can't really give a good indication.
Yeah, because, like we said, we only got this book about an hour and a half ago.
Before we started
filming.
Yeah.
So we've not played a game. And we're not going to be playing a game today, because it's almost already late. And we've got a tournament tomorrow, which we need sleep for. So chances are next time we'll get a chance to actually play a game is next week, which is the week of pre-order.
Potentially
for this.
So you'll more likely see this on the day of pre-order. So we potentially have a game on the pre-order date, which hopefully we're going to bring out around the pre-order date or just after to have a see where it's actually going to play on that side. But in the meantime, what's your thoughts on the book itself?
I think we need to give it a chance. I can understand why there's a lot of discontent.
Not bad press, but there's people that are looking at it and going, GW have screwed up GT play. Certain areas that have got a massive change that could heavily influence it. I don't know where the meta is going to go now.
No, I've got no idea.
I've got no feeling where the meta is going to go, which could be a good thing.
Yeah, I would say so.
It all depends on armies that don't rely on CP, which I don't know very many that don't. So we shall have to see.
Yes.
We shall have practice games before we actually release any, because we need to get our heads around what we're doing. We know how to play the game, hopefully.
I think.
Well, we try to. But it's how we use the CP management. It's going to be difficult, very, very difficult. But with that, guys, thank you very much for taking your time, listening to us jabber on about the new Nephilim book. Again, big game changer on the GT side. I don't know how it's going to affect Tempest, whether it's going to follow the same suits, or we're going to go to the normal 12 CP for your army and take it from there. We will give it a good shot. But as always, smash the like and subscribe button. Tell your friends about us as well. We've got a lot of projects going off. Jamie has got projects in the background that's kicking off. I've got projects as well. I've actually got two.
Too many.
Because I'm greedy like that. To crack on, which hopefully will be shown quite soon. We've got the review for the Chaos book, which is heavily influenced with this as well.
Yeah.
So take a look, wait for that to come through from the Dave and the Ross. But again, thank you very much for taking your time. As always, it's muchly appreciated. Your comments, your likes, subscribes help us to create content for you guys. Because without you, we won't be here. Well, we'd be playing 40k, but we won't be doing it as enjoyable as what we are for you guys. So take care of yourselves, enjoy your 40k, and speak to you soon.
Catch.